Okay, question. The Dawn Progressive Building is owned by whom?
The Dawn Progressive Association.
Okay, so it's not a county building?
That's correct.
No.
Okay. All right. Mr. Thomas, you got it?
Well, we have, things are rarely pure black and white as we look at them. The Dawn Progressive Association building has probably been used as a polling place since I had hair, which is 30 years ago. So, I mean, in one case, that's a more or less a county institution. We know that's the polling place. Whatever the church in the Western Carolina district is, I appreciate that, but that's only been a polling place for the last 4 years. And we have made investments in other parts of the county that were not county building or county property. The Little League is not county property, but it is for the good of the county. What we're doing, and you know, we're giving the Dawn Progressive Association a hand. I seriously doubt the board is going to say, let's give them $50,000 and fix it all. But what we're doing is making a temporary fix for them. I think we've already discussed moving the polling place so people know next year. But this year we're making an investment to save their building. If we don't stop the roof from leaking, we will lose the building, and then we'll be sitting there. They'll turn that building over, I'm sure, pretty much like we got the rescue squad building, or we're trying to get the rescue squad building. We're just helping them out like we've helped other entities in the past. We donate money to various, you know, folks that come before the board. We fix schools. We fixed the school across the street 3 times, or we allocated money 3 times. You know, we fixed it. We allocated money for the bathroom.
Mr. Thomas. I mean, we didn't pay to fix town hall. That's been a polling place since the 40s.
Well, I'm sure if town hall had said something, we put a lot of money in town hall or in the town of Bowling Green.
But we have. I'm back with Mr. Black's comment of, you know, we have other polling places, and we could end up fixing the same situation. Well, I understand the Dawn Progressive Centers.
I don't have any of those in front of me right now.
I understand.
I know what we're doing is we're trying to save a building that is leaking that we're going to use for a polling place in 6 months. So we need to do that. And if anybody wants to talk about buildings that we saved that we're going to rot, this is one of them. Okay? I was a vocal proponent to save the building. Nobody wanted to hear it until they found out it cost more to tear it down than renovate it. So we're in theoretically the same position, and we're talking a rounding error, $8,000.
I guess Mr. Chairman, I guess the concern for me, once again, though, is the $8,000 in the report says there's no guarantee the $8,000 is going to fix the problem. If we had a guarantee in that report that said, hey, the problem is going to be completely mitigated by this $8,000, that would be a different issue. But the issue is it could come back, as Mr. Schiebel just said, the issue could come back in 2 months and we've thrown $8,000 and we've thrown it away.
It's a chance that we take. There are some guarantees.
There are no guarantees.
No guarantees. Death and taxes are 2 guarantees. There are no 100% guarantee, but it's a step in the right direction, doing the right thing.
Mr. Cully would like to speak. Go ahead.
I don't think that $50,000 is a number. I think beyond this repair we're talking about, you're going to have to get a roofing consultant to go in there, and then you'd have to bid out this membrane roof, which would be your next up. And I haven't done some of those membrane roofs at school buildings and things over the years. They were never 50 grand. So I think it's significantly more dollars than the 50 grand. So I don't want you to get sort of focused on that we could fix the roof for 50 grand. I think that was over 50 grand, and I'm thinking probably way over that. I don't know the exact size of that roof, but
to give you an idea, the old Economic Development Office was $22,000, and that is an extremely small building.
So 100,000 or more easy. So, but we didn't go into that expense of getting a roof sort of design to get that number. But
and that's not what's before us tonight anyway.
That is correct.
So the question is, are we going to spend the money? Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
Okay. Okay. A motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we we allocate the 8,695 to repair the Dawn Progressive Association building.
To a second. So moved and properly second that we would allocate the $8,695 to come from the encumbered balance, I believe, to fix the Dawn Progressive building. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Black?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
Mr. Akers?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
Nay.
I vote aye. That takes care of that. We will repair the Dawn Progressive building, or at least try to, with the $8,000 from the encumbered balance. Okay, I believe that's,
We do 6?
well, if we look at new business, item 6. Request amendment to 15.2-901-3 of the Code of Virginia to allow enforcement of tall weeds and grass in agricultural zoning. Is that, Mr. Fincham, are you? Or Mr.
Mr. Black had asked us to put this on the agenda. We have discussed this matter previously. State statutes don't allow the county to enforce the grass code in rural preservation zoning or any agricultural type zone and districts. And so I think what we have before us tonight, he's provided some pictures to what this looks like out in his district next to the Old Moore store, and would ask that the board asked one of our General Assembly members to see if they would put us in to add us to the as like a special exception in the state code so that we could have authority to regulate grass in agricultural areas, rural preservation. And if Mr. Fincham has any more he'd like to add to that, that's...
Just one question before you add. Are we going to do this on case-by-case basis, or are we going to ride around the county and look for similar situations and deal with those as well? And I'm not against it. I'm just asking a question. I want to see what kind of issues may arise as a result of this.
That would be up to the board. The current process is that it is a complaint-based investigative process. So if we receive a complaint about a property maintenance issue, then that complaint is investigated.
But can we, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
Can we possibly coordinate the board comments I had this earlier with, how do we get our money back from this? It's foreclosed. I mean, is there a way, and that we can have an ordinance that forces the bank to pay us?
No, I believe under state law, like many of these property maintenance, it allows the county to put a lien on property, like you've said, but there's nothing, I mean, you'd have to get General Assembly, in addition to authorizing the action on agricultural or rural preservation, but no, there's no way under current law that would allow you to do anything other than put a lien on it and then enforce the lien as you enforce your general liens, which takes a while.
I've got a property right here that every year 5 neighbors complain about it. Every year we cut the grass for the last 3 years. It's been foreclosed for 3 years. I don't know about you, but I'm a little tired of waiting for my money.
That's just unfortunately the way the process works.
So if I put a lien on it in a tax lien, I can get my money in 3 years. Because if you don't pay the taxes in 3 years, I can sell your property.
Right.
So how can I do that?
The Code of Virginia will speak to whether or not you put the lien on the property or it's a lien that's enforced as a tax lien.
Well, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't read this particular
Because I think that's going to...
dealing with liens, but that's what would control. If it says it's a tax lien, you can. And if it doesn't say that, then you can't. And then you're just another lien holder.
Then after 3 years, the bank is going to get nothing back for their property. The county can then sell it, and we'll recoup our money.
Right. So that might be something in addition to going to the General Assembly. You could ask if it doesn't have that same mechanism that the lien's enforced like a tax lien, that it be modified so that it is like that. And
can
sometimes
we do that until somebody tells me no?
No.
Mr. Akins?
No, I'm serious.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Mr. Akins and then Mr. Black. Okay,
Mr. Fincham, we know what bank owns this, we know what bank is foreclosed on this property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have we talked to them? Have we tried to reach out to them to see if they would have someone come over and cut this grass?
In Mr. Black's case, we've had multiple conversations
With the bank?
with the property maintenance company that is managing the property. Yes, sir.
And what has been the response?
It's on their list to cut, and they assure us that they will get to it.
Yes,
When's the last time you talked to them?
a month ago.
Within the last week to 10 days.
Give them another call. You know, I've always heard the squeaky wheel gets, gets the oil, gets greased, so call them every day and want to know what's happening here. Because it will not, what Mr. Black is wanting to do will not take care of this problem as quickly as he wants to take care of it. If we've got to go to the General Assembly, it's going to be next year before it even considered.
And I understand that
Yeah.
completely.
But-
I understand that completely, but my point is, when did I bring this property up to you? When did I mention this property? It was last summer, last June.
Last summer.
Last summer, that we've been starting on this property since last June. So I understand this has been over a year, so I don't expect it to be cut tomorrow. I mean, I realize it's not going to get tomorrow. I'm saying is, in talking to Delegate Orrick, he said you can actually get on, they can pass an ordinance to allow us to do this.
Mr.
And
Black,
so for
can I
future-
just interrupt you a minute? Mr. Neal has found something that might
Tax lien?
help
Well,
us
yeah,
address that.
Now we're
yes.
talking.
This won't go to Mr. Black's question, but to Mr. Thomas's question, in the code, it does actually, the liens are enforced. They're on parity with tax liens and are enforceable in the same manner. So you
So
don't, so you can enforce them like you do a tax lien and go through that process to sell the property. And of course, that's got its own sort of
I don't wanna
hoops
hear
to
that.
jump through, but yes.
But once I tell the
that's what
bank
the
I'm gonna sell their
statute
property,
says.
if they don't cut the grass, they might cut the grass.
So it is on parity with the tax
Now,
lien.
how do I do the same thing with Mr. Black's property? Because we're gonna have a lot of this.
Well,
I got
Mr.
a year-old thing with Mike with cars. Somebody's storing junk cars. I think you know about that. You know, and it's been over a year for that. How do we do these as tax liens to make sure we get reimbursed? Because we've got a lot of money out there waiting to get back.
Well, I think with Mr. Black's question, the question is, how do we get the grass cut on property that's not in the residential or commercial zone? And that, as he has said, would require a fix from the General Assembly. But, assuming that fix could be made, then he could get the grass cut and then put the tax lien on it. You'd still have to wait the requisite amount of time and jump through the hoops, but then you could arguably get your money back. I mean, it's not going to be quick either way.
Does a rezoning
But that's how
always,
you would do it.
does a rezoning always have to be done at the request of the applicant?
It does not, but typically they would have to be comprehensive rezonings and not for one particular property.
So you could rezone that to residential and it would fall under our normal,
Well, except that you can't do the one parcel.
there's a whole bunch of residential properties in that area you could take care of.
Careful what you ask for with
Yeah.
that.
I'm just saying.
I just think that in asking Mr. Taylor, I think this would be a case-by-case basis. The reason why this property has me concerned is because in my district there are, as Mr. Akers, there are very, very few storefront, as far as businesses. And this just happens to be on Lady Smith Road right next to the, old, Caroline Grocery now. The one store I have. And I'm not sure the store owner is very thrilled with, grass that's, chest high, right next to his store. So-
And I guess, and I certainly sympathize with what you're saying. It does not look good. The one question that I have, though, is do we distinguish between property that's occupied versus property that's not occupied? Because I don't want us to get into a situation where a little old man who isn't healthy and can't cut his grass and it doesn't look well, and then we go in as a county and create additional problems for that person. A lot of times, the issue that you're trying to solve, it doesn't get solved, but then it creates another issue in the process. I just want to make sure that we can protect elderly people. I can think of some houses, well, the grass isn't this tall, but I can think of some houses that the grass is tall, and it doesn't look nice, but the persons are old and they don't have anybody to help. And sometimes neighbors will go and help, but I wouldn't want us to pass something that create additional issues for some of the elderly people who are trying to do well, trying to do right.
What I would think we would do, Mr. Chairman, is to make this change specifically for abandoned or
Absentee landowners.
absentee landowners is another good one. Foreclosed properties.
Yeah, as long as we can make it so that.
And it would be restrictive enough to stop, any harm. I'm not trying to be snidely whiplash and whatnot and throw somebody out of the house for not cutting the grass, but we need to do something.
We can prepare some options for the board to consider along that lines. I think it would help if the board made a specific request to our representative or one of our representatives in the General Assembly.
Wouldn't we have to get our ordinance passed first before them to make the request, or,
No, sir. Typically, the General Assembly would amend the state code, and then we would adopt the ordinance after the fact.
Is that something that staff could contact Mr. Orrick? Because I've already talked to Mr. Orrick about this. Delegate Orrick.
Yeah, certainly, can we just like the consensus of the board that you want us having a delegate put in a change like that on behalf of the county?
You want a motion from the board?
I think that would be helpful. I think he would probably be more comfortable if he knew the board was behind the request.
And we would
Actually, we should just do a resolution, sending it, and send them a resolution from us requesting we be added to that.
Yeah.
That's actually more effective.
Okay.
Can we get a resolution
The
drafted?
resolution would then go to, because you got to have a Senate carry and a House carry. It's got to go through both houses to be done.
So it's the consensus of the board that we would do a resolution? Okay, and they'll bring it back in the next meeting. Okay. All right, that's all that we can do. So we will recess until 7:30. Convene the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting May 26th, and it takes us to the public comment section of our meeting. This is the section of the meeting where citizens are allowed to come and address the board about any issue that is not a public hearing or is not an agenda item. So at this time, if there are board members who would like to address the board, you may come at this time. Please state your name as well as your district if applicable, and you will have 3 minutes. I will open the section of the meeting for public comment at this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding public comment? Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one with the desire to speak, I will close the public comment section of the meeting. That takes us to agenda item number 3, the public hearing, joint Virginia Department of Transportation and Board of Supervisors hearing on the secondary 6-year improvement plan for fiscal year 2016 through 2021. Mr. Nelson, thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to provide you information regarding the secondary 6-year plan. The Code of Virginia requires the County Board of Supervisors and the Department to formulate a 6-year secondary improvement plan and a priority list for the secondary improvement budget. We have provided a proposed plan and budget for your consideration regarding this manner. Today's public hearing is being conducted for the 2016 through 2021 plan and the 2016 fiscal year. Please keep in mind the plan is only for improvements and new construction. It does not include maintenance work such as potholes, pulling ditches, snow removal, or repairing roads. In preparation of updating the proposed 6-year plan, we met with county staff to discuss the current plan and to seek guidance on any changes that may have been determined necessary by your county since the approval of the last plan. In the proposed 6-year plan, the following has been recommended. Route 760 Sorrel Lane, which is a rural rustic road, where we'll take an unpaved road and turn it into a paved road. Route 629 Menarche Road, which is also a rural rustic road, which will turn an unpaved road into a paved road. Please note that the funding amounts are found in the estimated allocations. If there are no questions from the board, I recommend we open it to the public hearing.
All right, do the board have questions at this time?
this is, Mr. Nelson, this is our only opportunity to add roads to the secondary system, right? I thought we,
To the plan, you mean?
Yeah.
For construction, yes.
okay, because I thought we had a discussion about another road that for whatever reason escapes me now, and adding it to the secondary system.
I can't
But it's
remember.
not on here, but, okay. So, all right, if another road comes up at a later point in time, we would ask you and you would put it on the list.
Yeah, and well, and here's one thing too. If you note, if you look at the funding, as of right now, for the next 3 fiscal years,
Yeah.
all the money you're getting is allocated to 2 projects. Those are the 2 we just mentioned.
Right.
So at next year's secondary 6-year plan, if we wanted to identify concrete projects where money in the future years could go, I think that'd be a time to do it. Because as of now, you'd just be adding it, but no work would be done until the funding comes. And the earliest time for funding is out in FY19.
Okay. I remember Monarchy, because I asked to have Monarchy added when it was in the Mattapanai district, which is 4 years ago. But I don't remember Sorrel Lane at all. Where's that?
Sorrel Lane is back off of Newtown Road. I mean, I know where it's at. It's been on, was added to the list like 10 years ago.
And we
Because-
should be starting that probably early next year.
Mr. Thomas, there was some discussion about rural addition projects several years ago, and they were actually removed from the 6-year secondary road plan by the board due to the continued reduction in
We
funding.
knew we had no money, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, don't we want to stay on the list so we keep the order?
We can keep the order. I think one of the questions is, and I'm aware of a situation where the right-of-way has already been dedicated. We have an example near the high school where we went through to get letters of interest from all the residents on the road. At the end of the day, one property owner right at the entrance to the neighborhood objected and would not agree to dedicate right-of-way. So it takes a lot of staff time to get the letters of interest, get the right-of-way, that if we want to do that, that we need to program that back into the process.
Okay, that's probably what I was saying.
And if I may make a suggestion, I think it's good for the county to have a list of a priority, but that priority list doesn't need to be in the secondary 6-year plan until we're ready to move forward, because you're going to have so many projects and your money's going to be scattered out, because I can't put a project on here without having funding.
Right. So we don't need any projects until 2025, right?
We can start working on scheduling those now.
That's when we'll have money, right?
Yeah.
2025? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, did you have a question? Okay, so you're saying now that I should not ask the board to add Stonewall Lane to the rural addition?
What I'm saying is you can ask right now, but it will not get funding until 2019.
Okay, let me ask you this. What about if there was some shared funding, like 50-50?
Revenue sharing doesn't have to be on the secondary 6-year plan.
So
if the county wanted VDOT to administer a project, if the county wanted to fund the project, we would enter into an agreement together and we would execute that for you, and you would pay VDOT to go and do the work.
Okay, all right. And I hear what you're saying, that it won't get, if we add it to the 6-year plan now, I hear what you're saying, that there won't be any funding until 2019. But what if there was some situation whereby funding did become available and it wasn't in the plan? Then
You can ask for an out-of-cycle addition to the plan. There can be an out-of-cycle addition to the secondary 6-year plan.
I guess my concern is, I have this road, which you're familiar with. All the right-of-way is there. And very few times do we have a situation where we have all the right-of-way and we have consent from all of the landowners. And I'm just afraid if we don't put it on there now and something happens, let's just say, for example, somebody moves out and another person moves in and they decide they don't want to consent or, give the necessary footage, then the whole thing would Because we have some situations like that where we never could get consent from all of the landowners. And I just would hate to see us have that, because when the funds do show up, and they may not be in it, but if the funds do show up and all of a sudden we have a new person to move in and they don't want to cooperate, then
I understand. I mean, if the board wished to add a project, we could do that. And I do want to add one thing, that for rural additions, only 5% of your total allocation can go to rural additions each year.
Right.
So you're looking at 5% of $102,000 per year.
You're not making this any easier.
Mr. Chairman, can we just move on? I knew that was coming.
So we got $5,000, huh?
5,000.
That's not even the gravel.
Can we open the public hearing?
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. If there are no questions. Okay. We will now open the public hearing for the 6-year plan. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Seeing no one with the intent to speak, we will now close the public hearing. Board members have questions?
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt the 6-year plan as presented.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we adopt the 6-year plan as presented. All in favor, let it be known by
Mr.
saying.
Fincham has, sir?
Mr. Chairman, would you, or Mr. Seeley, would you also include in your motion the adoption of the resolution?
Oh, and the adoption of the resolution for the 6-year plan. I'm amending the motion.
I'll amend my second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that we accept the 6-year plan as presented.
With the resolution.
As well as with the resolution. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. Closing, I beg your pardon? Oh, informational calendar items, I'm sorry. We have basically said that we were going to have one meeting in July. We were going to have our next meeting, one meeting in,
Meetings in June.
2 meetings in June, none in July.
We're
2 meetings in June, none in July. Okay.
moving
And we're moving,
July to June 30th.
yeah, June 30th is going to be the July meeting.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move. I'll make a motion we move the first meeting in July to 30 June, which is the 5th Tuesday in June, and we not meet on the 28th of July.
Cancel.
We will cancel that meeting due to scheduling conflicts for the board.
Second.
So moving properly second that we would change the schedule as the motion was made. We will have a meeting on June 30th and no meeting in July. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. All right, closing arguments, Mr. Thomas.
Well, I think Mr. Cully, information, closing arguments.
Attorney fees is coming out.
Okay.
I'm just waiting.
Just wanted you to see that I was going to be on vacation starting next week, my annual trek to Pennsylvania. Mr. Underwood has a community meeting on the 11th of June, and that's at Dawn Progressive Center at 6:30. I'm not promising that, but hopefully we will get to work on that. We have our next meeting, and this is a change, on the 9th at 7 p.m. here. So the
Right.
back is taken up with a caucus meeting, and so that's 7 p.m. here for the normal 6 o'clock part. We just moved the meeting to the 30th, so that's all I have, is I don't have anything for July yet.
I'm going to run into the public.
We're done?
Okay. Any
They had
closing
meetings.
arguments, Mr. Thomas?
My client is not guilty once again. If you look at all that, board comments
Yes,
or
board
argument?
comments.
I'm ready, always ready to argue. I don't have any, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just have one for county staff, Mr. Cully. If we can count, I would like to look at the 23rd of June and then the 25th of June as constituent meetings. If we can call, I will contact Lake Landor for the 25th. If you could contact County Line for the 23rd. Two constituent meetings, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I had a constituent to contact me about, and I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, or if there's anything we maybe should do about it. But their concern was they had a vehicle that they gave away on February 1. And they pulled the county sticker off, took it back to the treasurer's office, turned the county sticker in. And when he got his tax bill in May to pay in June, he got a $30 fee for the sticker that he no longer owns the vehicle. And the lady that he gave the car to, was a lady in the church, she had to buy a county sticker as well for the same vehicle. So the county is collecting twice on the same vehicle a county sticker. I'm not sure we should, I don't know, if there's anything we can do, but I do think we need to look into it and see what can be done along those lines. Because he only owned the car, he wasn't driving the car, but he only owned the car for 1 month in the year of 2015. And he had to buy a whole county sticker for the entire year. And he couldn't transfer it to the other lady that he gave the car to.
Mr. Akers, I have a similar situation in that someone took the tags off their car, and the county was charging them for a sticker, even though you can't drive it without tags.
Yeah.
So
I just think we need to look at that because it appears that we may not be.
equitable?
Yeah. Equitable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Sealy?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I just had one last comment. And I know it's too late. We've already voted on a 6-year plan. And I know that there is not funds out there, but I'm really concerned that we have all of the signatures. We have people in that area who have agreed. The land is there. There may not be money, but I am concerned that if we don't put this road in that plan, 2 or 3 people will sell their house. Somebody else will buy it. That new person coming in may decide they don't want to donate the property, or they don't want, and that.
Can't they record that now? Can't they go in and record the right of way? Yeah, they need to go record that plan because.
I guess, but what I'm saying is, if it's already in the plan, then you have to go back and.
Putting it in the 6-year plan wouldn't record the right-of-way. Somebody would have, they really ought to, if people have donated that right-of-way, it ought to be all recorded. Then if it's somebody sells or changes ownership, it wouldn't matter. It would automatically be recorded.
And
if we name it in the 6-year plan, wouldn't stop if it isn't recorded for somebody changing their mind.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we adjourn.